Hi, my name is Jason Huett. I am the founder of Collaborative Commercial, a commercial real estate and business brokering firm here in Wisconsin. And today I'm going to talk about buying and selling businesses. So I'm located in Wisconsin. You may say, well, what does this have to do with commercial real estate? Because I talk about commercial real estate quite a bit. And in Wisconsin, uh, in order to help broker businesses, you must have a real estate license. And the thought behind that is many business owners own the commercial real estate property. And so when they go to sell the building or the business or both, the person helping them to broker that deal would need to be a licensed real estate agent. And so that's different in every state, but I'm going to talk about kind of Wisconsin, how that works here today. And many of the agents that I know, the residential agents, for the most part, none of them will touch a business brokering opportunity. And a lot of the commercial agents I know also feel the same way. And the reason for that is they tend to be complex. Over my career, I've bought, sold, licensed close to 20 businesses, and I really love that process. I've worked inside of my businesses, so I understand the components that go into that. There's some complexity that comes to that. For that reason, a lot of real estate agents just prefer not to touch these transactions. So today, in this video, I'm going to outline just some very basic tips if you're a business owner, you're thinking of selling, some tips for you. And then if you're on the buying side, I'll outline some tips for you as well. Okay, so let's talk first off in Wisconsin. Again, if you are a business owner, you don't need a license to sell your own business. You can buy businesses, you can sell them without any restriction, as long as it's you're operating within in the law. You don't need a license to do that. And so part of the reason that a lot of real estate agents don't touch this area is there's a lot of areas of special skill that are needed. So you have to understand profit and loss statements, balance sheet, cash flow statements, and then valuation. I would never claim to be a valuation expert, but you do have to understand how, generally speaking, a business is going to be valued. And if you've got a background with any formal valuation process, I believe that to be helpful. I think another reason is you have to understand marketing operations, HR, sales, and strategic planning. And so when you put all of that together, it's a tall order to fill. Really kind of takes a blend of a real estate agent and an entrepreneur to combine all of that together effectively. So let's get into the tips. These tips are for business owners who are looking to sell. And my goal, if I was selling a business, is I want to get the price that I have as a target. And so in order to do that, we want to drive demand for our business. So one is understand, tap your team of experts, get an understanding of what your business is valued at, and ask your accountant, have them work some numbers up. If your business is over $1 million in revenue, you may want to consider getting a formal valuation done for it. But again, keep in mind that valuations are they're biased. The person doing the valuation typically has a fiduciary responsibility to be fair and honest. But I can tell you this because I've been through a 409A valuation before. Whoever's paying for that valuation is going to influence it. Okay, so if you're buying a business, you can use that as firepower. That, well, of course, the seller paid for the valuation, so there's going to be some influence there. Just know that it does. Okay, so for the sellers of businesses, target the right buyers. There is a specific type of buyer that you want to talk to, and the reason for that is when your broker goes to market that business, they're going to want to target this profile of buyer. Okay, and that ties back into your industry. The entire market is not our customer. We want to define that customer very specifically. And I can tell you this one doesn't sound sexy, but it will have a huge impact on your ability to sell your business. Next, tell a story. All of your financial data tells a story. And the question is, does it tell the story that you want? Usually not. Use the Great Recession as an example. In 2008, 2009, I was running a chain of martial arts schools, and all of our locations took a massive hit during that period of time. So eventually, when I went to sell those businesses, I needed to know that I needed to be able to explain the impact of that recession. Most businesses are going to have some fluctuation. And so you want to be able to think through that make sure that you know those financials inside and out, because a strong buyer is going to ask questions. If they see a deviation from normal, they're going to ask about that. Um, and then as a seller, also, where's the opportunity for the business? You're really selling the dream. Sometimes for a very stable business with strong revenue and strong profit, that is the story. Hey, look, you can buy this business. Yes, there's a cash outlay to do that, but look what you're going to get in exchange. You are going to see, and I'm not guaranteeing, you're not, of course, guaranteeing this, but you're saying, hey, look, we've had this level of revenue and profit over the past X amount of years, and if you do a good job, you could too. You do want to be careful about making guarantees and promises. Um, then, in terms of the other part of the story, is look at your industry. Is the industry expanding or is it contracting? If you're in a technology business, certain technology businesses are contracting very sharply right now, but there's others that are expanding. So you want to look at the industry and kind of draw that picture, tell that story for the buyer. And then use teams, as I mentioned. You want to use, attorney, accountant, and hopefully your broker also has a ability to market and understand marketing. That's very important too. You'll notice in a lot of the videos I talk about marketing, because I truly believe it's the answer to so many problems in business, whether it's finding new customers, finding buyers for your business, or sellers. All right, so let's move on. Tips for buyers. Now, if you're selling a business, it's good for you to hear this too, because this is what a good buyer is going to be looking for. They're also going to use data. So, in addition to all of the data that you provide in your financials, if they're savvy, they're going to look at industry data, but also some very specific marketing metrics data in your business. They'll look at your website, they'll look at your website traffic. They're going to look at the marketing systems that you have in place to get an understanding of just how strong is the business, and where do the opportunities exist. So, for example, there's a lot of information. I think kind of the standard level of knowledge in the market today says, hey, you want to find a business with high revenue and high profit. I've never preferred that equation. Here's why. If the business has high revenue and high profit, and let's say that it was being run really, really well, um, that to me, there's not much entrepreneurial activity in that kind of a business. So again, assuming the seller has high revenue, high profit, they've got HR, marketing, operations, everything's looking great. How am I going to go about increasing or improving that business? There may be some opportunities, maybe with licensing or expansion into other geographic areas, but in most of the businesses that I've run, I've actually done the opposite. I've come into weak businesses, ones that had revenue that was maybe not stable or profit that wasn't great, and negotiated very well on price. And then my background is in sales and marketing, so putting those sales and marketing systems in and getting the revenue growth that way, but without the high payment of a business maybe that was performing at a really high level. So that's personal preference. You can make both of them work, but I've always used the latter to kind of drive my success in the purchasing side. All right, so let's also talk just a bit about the sellers telling the story. So you also have to understand the other side of that coin, and that is, do the financials and the numbers there make sense? Are there seasonality dips? This is an important one. If you're buying a business that has seasonality, it's usually not best to buy that business when you're headed into that downtime. When you buy a new business, you want the best cash flow that you can get. So again, this should be a contributing factor to negotiating on price. And then other tips for the buyers. One is, price always seems to be kind of the big sticking point in any transaction, whether it's commercial real estate or business brokering. But you can use creative finance when you're buying a business. And here's what I mean by that. So the reason I love business brokering so much is because there's more gray area for negotiation. And banks typically, the formulas aren't quite as cut and dry as say commercial real estate. So true story. This is back when I was running a chain of martial arts schools here. I was approached by an owner, and he wanted to sell the martial arts business that he had. So we went through the whole due diligence, all of it. And what I did is I had negotiated a flexible payment term. So I said, I'm going to pay you 25%. When we close, I'm going to bring 25% cash to closing. But instead of paying that whole thing out, I'll give you, the price that we agree on. What I want to do is I want to pay you in 3 additional installments every 6 months. Okay, so 25% today, in 6 months, 25%, 6 months after that, 25, 25. You get the idea. And so I made that first payment, and 3 weeks later, 3 weeks in after this transaction had closed, he came back and he said, "Hey, I could use the cash. Why don't you write me a check for the second payment? We'll call it even." So I had negotiated very well on price in the very beginning, but what happened was I ended up paying 50% less of that sale price when all was said and done. So that's what I mean by creative finance is if the seller is not willing to negotiate on price, maybe you can get some terms put in that are a little bit more favorable. And then the last tip for the buyers is consider your exit strategy. It's really exciting to buy a business, and sometimes we get caught up in the emotion of that process. But think think forward to whether it's 3 years or 5 years or 10 years. How am I going to exit this business? All right, lots of information there. So if you have questions, if you're watching this and you're a business owner, you're thinking of selling, or you're on the buy side and you have questions, feel free to email me. You can find my email and contact information on my website, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for listening. Take care.